fares, what to expect, where the embassy is in case you do run into trouble, places to stay, if they're negotiable, if they're clean, if they're friendly, if it's a safe place. They tell you safe places not to go, you know, at certain times, which anywhere in the world is not safe at night usually. Walking around by yourself with anything of value, you're gonna be a target to the less fortunate there. But the whole experience was just, it was amazing.
You said it was not very expensive.
I was living off of between $6 and $8 a day. That was for food, lodging, and transportation.
Oh my goodness!
So I went there for about a month, and I had, I think I saved up about $400. And my plane ticket I got from Spirit Air, and I got it for round trip ticket was $120 from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So 100. You can't even travel anywhere in the States for that cheap.
No.
So I got there, and my total I think I spent on the whole thing was about $500 for about a month.
How about communication? English, Spanish?
Oh, there's lots of English. It's pretty Americanized
there.
there.
Just on English?
What's that?
You can get by just on English?
You can. Some of the smaller towns that I went into out in the middle of nowhere is a little iffy. I mean, if you have a little bit of basic Spanish, you can kind of get by with lots of...
fed.
Yeah, with hand gestures.
Basically
and
what you need.
Yeah, and mainly the food you're eating is rice and beans there with some kind of meat in it. You don't know what kind of meat it is, but it's good.
Meat of the day.
Yeah.
What time of year were you there?
I was there in the rainiest month of the rainy season, which was September.
And how'd that work out?
It was fantastic. Everything was dropped in prices because the tourists weren't there.
Out of season, right?
Yeah, and it would rain really hard for about an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. So it was nap time, and then you get up and it was dried up by the heat.
And so the temperatures ran like high to low.
I believe it was in the 90s, and then at night it would drop down to about 75. Perfect weather.
Perfect,
I mean,
yeah.
And once you got in the rainforest and the jungle and stuff, the humidity was a killer. Because it's so humid and it's raining all the time there, and the heat, it was pretty bad. So we were doing about 16 miles I think a day, and it was brutal. It was really brutal, and watching out for snakes. The last time I went there, I was almost bit by a eyelash pit viper or eyelash viper, and it's just this little snake. It's bright yellow, and it's got these spikes above its eyes. And there was a Costa Rican walking through the part, and I was trying to ask him what it was, and I didn't realize it was getting closer to me, and it struck out at my hand, and he just kept telling me "morte, morte," which means death.
Right.
And I was like, and then I found out later from a ranger that you had a half an hour to get treatment for it, or else you were going to be in serious trouble. And they said, well, the nearest hospital was an hour and a half away, so go figure, your odds aren't looking too good. The bus travel was one of the things that took the longest. It was 130 miles, and 130 miles from point A to point B, and it took us about 9.5 hours to get there.
With stops and stuff? Or?
There was rest stops that they would stop and pick up other people, but the Costa Ricans, if somebody's on the side of the road and we were on the bus, they'd pull over and pick them up. There'd be a whole family. So next thing you know, the buses they were nice buses. They were like tour buses, like charter buses. And very comfortable, no air conditioning on it, but the windows opened up and the comfortable seats. Then they'd start piling in everybody. And the roads are like these mountain roads up here where they just twist and turn, but they were gravel with potholes the size of small ponds. So you're hitting those and seeing cars stuck in them, and you just...
But you were able to get from place to place.
Oh yeah, very easily.
The bus travel is not expensive?
I think the most I paid for a bus ticket was $2.50 American, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, parts of the country, what are the good parts? What mountainous, jungle, like from north to south?
I enjoyed every bit of it. Every part of it had their own special thing. I mean, the mountains were just phenomenal, rugged, majestic mountains. And then the coast were beautiful beaches with white or black sand beaches, crystal clear waters, all sorts of fish and coral that you could see. And then the west coast was the waves. The water was more cloudy there because of all the waves. The south, the rainforest and everything down by Panama and the jungle was absolutely phenomenal. And the north had the cloud forest that were really cool. So
now, how about the water travel river? Did you do any canoeing or anything like that?
I didn't do any of that.
Is it available though?
Yeah. There was lots of white water rafting trips you could do. There was kayaking. You could rent kayaks at a lot of the places and go out in the open water. but I never did any of that stuff because that was more of the touristy stuff. So they kind of put a heavier price on it, and I was on a budget. So I did do a horseback riding tour that went up to one of the active volcanoes. It was La Fortuna. I believe that was the name of the volcano. It was at the bottom or at the top of the city, and you horseback rode up into the jungle and got to go swimming in a river, and you could also do zip lining and all this other stuff, but it was a lot more expensive. So
it was a tourist package sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounds fantastic. Do you know anything about the other times of the year? When's it like the best time to go there as far as the weather?
I would say around our winter time is the best. After September is when it starts to be their peak for the winter holidays.
So things get a little bit more expensive, but
yeah, but not terrible.
Not tolerable, and the weather dries up.
Yep, it dries up and it gets really hot.
Okay, that's when I would be going. I'm looking January and February. I'm looking for something to do.
Yeah.
So that would be great.
Yeah, it's I guess the prices are a little bit harder to negotiate, but you still can negotiate.
Right.
So
it sounds fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's great. It really is.